Hi, everyone. Sunday night, and it is 9 p.m. here in Madison, Wisconsin. That's Central Time, and I'm doing a live stream. So let's see how many people join. I see a couple people already here, and I'm hoping that more will join. I usually wait for a minute or two and allow people to get those notifications and tune in. Susan writes, hello again. Hello, Susan. How are you? Terry is here. Terry gives me a thumbs up. Thank you, Terry, for being here. I published a video, a podcast episode earlier today. It's roughly 30 minutes long. I talked about some pretty important stuff. And I know some of you have already watched that. I believe, Susan, you've watched it. Terry, I think you've watched it because I saw your comments. Susan writes, the weather is dreary. Susan, where are you? I think you had mentioned you were visiting in California or something. Are you back in Hawaii? The weather in Wisconsin was pretty good today. Although I did not go out anywhere. I did a podcast episode and stayed busy. Susan writes, still in CA. Okay, still in California. Well, the weather keeps changing, and we can't control that. We have no control over weather. Although the liberals will tell you that they can try to alter the climate, and the liberals blame conservatives, and the liberals blame fossil fuels for bad weather. But that doesn't make sense. But the liberals do that, and the liberals think that humans can change climate. No, humans can't change climate. Climate is beyond our control. We don't control nature, right? Anyway, I'm going to start in about 30 seconds here. I see more people have joined. I hope more will tune in. I'm going to talk about San Diego. I haven't talked about San Diego in a while. I'll talk about San Diego, and then I'll talk about something else that's very interesting. Susan writes, when I lived in the desert, the Navy planes would fly over. 10 minutes later, we'd get a huge rain. Okay. Well, I've never lived in the desert, but I grew up in a very warm climate. I grew up in Dhaka, Bangladesh, which is a very warm place, and I've kind of traveled through the desert, but I haven't lived in the desert area. I live here in Wisconsin, which is frozen many months out of the year. Okay, my friends, I think I'm going to start. We are past the 3-minute, 30 seconds mark. Let's start. Let's talk about San Diego, California. Beautiful city. I have been to San Diego. It was years ago. It was a very brief visit. Reportedly, a migrant center in San Diego is being forced to close due to a flood of migrants. Teresa Ross is giving me is waving at me. Thank you, Teresa. The welcome center, a migrant welcome center in San Diego, is being forced to close due to a flood of migrants. This welcome center is designed to provide food, water, clothing, etc. to the migrants. Food, water, clothing, things that many American citizens need but don't get. The reason for the upcoming closure is the fact that resources are limited and there are not enough resources to provide services to the migrants. Reportedly, the Welcome Center will close on February 22nd. By the way, these are taxpayer-funded services that the migrants get. We, the taxpayers, pay for all of this. San Diego County reportedly gave $6 million to a nonprofit to have a welcome center The funding was expected to last for 6 months, which means that the Welcome Center was expected to remain open until the end of March. That's 6 months from the start of October. But the resources ran out. Once again, limited resources and growing needs because of the massive influx of migrants. And that's the pattern we see, my friends. Limited resources and growing needs because the migrants just keep coming. The liberals like to quote from the Statue of Liberty. Give me your tired, your poor, your huddled masses yearning to breathe free. The liberals like to quote that. Mike Johnston, the mayor of Denver, quoted the Statue of Liberty. And by doing that, the liberals try to convince people to keep our border open and to allow anyone and everyone to enter the United States. Now, that's wrong. Give me your tired, your poor, your huddled masses yearning to breathe free does not mean give me those who break immigration laws. It doesn't mean give me those who expect free housing at taxpayers' expense. It doesn't mean give me those who engage in lawlessness like we see in New York. My friends, the United States of America is a welcoming country for immigrants. We continue to welcome immigrants who follow our immigration laws and come to the United States to live and work here. People who come here for opportunities, people who are willing to work hard, people who are willing to contribute to the growth and success of our country. People who come here for a better life. But let's remember, there's no guarantee of success. There's no magical solution to a person's problems. And the United States of America did not make a promise that we will allow everyone from all over the world to come into our country. No. So when the liberals quote the Statue of Liberty and they say, give me your tired, your poor, your huddled masses yearning to breathe free, the liberals are trying to distort the meaning. Like I said, it doesn't mean give me those who break immigration laws, give me those who expect free housing at taxpayers' expense, give me those who engage in lawlessness. No. But that's what's happening. People who are coming here by crossing the southern border, they are breaking our immigration laws. And they are coming here and they're expecting free housing, free food, free medical services. They are going to emergency rooms and they're expecting services, and then they are not paying for those services. And many migrants, based on the reports that we see, many migrants are engaging in lawless activities in New York City. Migrants using mopeds to commit crimes. Migrants engaging in theft, stealing property, causing harm. That's what's happening in New York and in other places. Now, liberals like Mike Johnston, the mayor of Denver, likes to quote the Statue of Liberty. But don't distort the meaning. It doesn't mean that we're going to open up our borders and allow everyone to come into the United States. Well, Biden administration is doing that. That's what the Biden administration is doing, but that's wrong. And so the people want a leader who is going to secure the border and stop the influx of illegal immigrants. We cannot allow the rule of law to be diminished. But what's happening? This is a country of laws. We are a country of laws. But the rule of law is now being diminished in the United States. As I mentioned in a previous video, there's a crisis in the law enforcement community. There's a shortage of police officers and there's rising crime. The judicial system is overburdened. And as more and more migrants come in, our communities cannot handle the pressure. Law enforcement is struggling to handle the pressure. And so the rule of law is now being diminished in our country. And every single day that goes by, as more and more migrants come in, the rule of law is being diminished. Here's something very interesting I saw in the news. Now, my friends, if you have been following my channel, then you know that I have said it many times. I have not counted, but I would say dozens of times at least, that the sanctuary cities, the politicians in the sanctuary cities should remove the sanctuary city designation. They should remove that label, that tag. The politicians in New York should remove that sanctuary city label. The politicians in Chicago should remove that sanctuary city label. The politicians in Illinois state should remove that sanctuary state label. In California, they should remove that sanctuary state label. And I've been saying that over and over and over again. And I just saw in the news that a Chicago Democrat, this is a Chicago Democrat who is a government employee, and you can look up the news. I saw this in the news. A Chicago Democrat who is a government employee is calling for the removal of the sanctuary city tag. People realize that this label of sanctuary city causes problems. People are starting to realize that. And I'm sure Democrats realize it too. Not everyone's like a far left socialist. Not every Democrat's going to agree with what Eric Adams is doing, what Brandon Johnson's doing. I think some Democrats realize, especially when you consider the voters. I think a lot of voters, Democrat voters who are not activists, who are not Democrat strategists, they are not politicians, they are Democrat voters. I think a lot of Democrat voters realize that the sanctuary city, sanctuary state label, this is harmful. It doesn't make sense. And so, as I said, I saw in this news, Chicago Democrat, a government employee, is calling for the removal of the sanctuary city tag. And I hope that more and more people will call for the removal of the sanctuary city label. I hope more and more people in New York will realize that the sanctuary city designation is hurting the city. Illinois, California, same thing. I think more and more people should stand up and say, enough. No more sanctuary city label. No more sanctuary state label. It's not sustainable. At some point, the money runs out. What happens then? What's going to happen when there are no more resources left? Let me check the chat window here quick. Terry writes, right on, Tassif. My friends, I don't have a whole lot to discuss during this live stream. I did that 30-minute video, and if you have not had a chance to watch it, please do so. I discussed some really important things in that video. And I talked about this new plan in Illinois. And okay, so anyone who hasn't watched my video from earlier today yet, let me just tell you what happened. In Illinois, Governor J.B. Pritzker and the Cook County Board President, so Chicago is in Cook County, so the Cook County Board President, together they made a plan to allocate more money for the illegal immigrants. And that figure, so in addition to money that has already been spent and allocated, this is additional money. That dollar figure is at $252 million. State of Illinois and Cook County together, they have plans to allocate an additional $252 million to serve the illegal immigrants. That means money for housing, food, other services for the migrants. These are such massive dollar figures. And it seems like such huge sums of money are being allocated and spent just so easily. And it seems that although this is taxpayer money, it seems that the taxpayers don't have control over the situation. It seems that the taxpayers, if you ask the people, they don't want such massive sums to be spent on the migrants. But it doesn't seem like the taxpayers are in charge. It seems that the politicians, the liberal politicians, are in charge, and they are doing whatever they want at the state level, at the local level, and obviously at the federal level. We see that the Biden administration at the federal level could secure the border, but they don't. And so American people are feeling helpless. They realize that the things are beyond their control, but that's not how it should be. The people should be in charge. The people elect those who sit in government offices, elected officials. My sister's right. Terry, I don't live in the city of Madison, but I'm a Dane County resident. Yeah, Dane County is where I live, and I am paying attention to what's going on in Dane County. And, I mentioned previously that the city of Madison in Dane County, the city of Madison is where I live. It's the state capital of Wisconsin. The city of Madison is facing a $27 million budget deficit. And so there's conversation about how to make up for this deficit by cutting services, by increasing fees and taxes. And politicians are coming up with all kinds of ideas. Will there be layoffs? Maybe. Will there be service cuts? Maybe. Will fees go up, taxes go up, property tax, wheel tax? Maybe. I don't know. But, I always say, wait a second. Before we talk about service cuts, mass layoffs, tax increase, fee increase, before going forward with those conversations, difficult conversations, I want to know how did we arrive at this point? How did we get to this point that there's a $27 million budget deficit in the city of Madison? That's what people need to talk about first and foremost. How did we get to this point that there's such a massive deficit in a city like Madison? Somebody has to analyze that and get the answers. Where did the financials go wrong? Where was excess money spent, or where were the taxpayer dollars wasted, or whatever? What happened? What happened that we're looking at this $27 million budget deficit? I want to know the answer before going forward and figuring out if there needs to be service cuts or tax increases or fee increases or mass layoffs. Somebody has to answer that question. We need transparency. We need accountability in government. My sister's writes about the San Diego, the Welcome Center. So let me look at that comment again. I don't know. So I do know that since Texas started enforcing, since Texas started taking steps to secure their border. So Texas has border with Mexico, right? U.S.-Mexico border, but that's on that's the Texas portion. So Greg Abbott, God bless Greg Abbott, the best governor in America right now. Greg Abbott has been working very hard to secure the Texas border with Mexico, the U.S.-Mexico border. And since Texas started taking strong measures, what's been happening is that the border crossings at the Texas border went down, which means that more and more people are probably going towards Arizona, New Mexico, California. So detour. Rather than crossing into the U.S. through the Texas border, people are, the migrants are going towards the other states so that they can cross into California, New Mexico, or Arizona. Now, obviously, Governor Greg Abbott can't fix those problems. He can fix the problems with the Texas border, but he has no control over the Arizona, New Mexico, California border. So those states are going to have to figure out what they're going to do. Arizona has a Democrat governor. California has a Democrat governor. Now, can you expect those Democrat governors to take the kind of steps that Greg Abbott took in Texas? I don't know. I'll let you answer that. Um, Arleta Jordan, thumbs up. Thank you for joining. I appreciate more and more people tuning in for my live stream. I understand it's Sunday night, so it's a weekend, and I never know how many people will join my live stream during the weekend, but it's always good to see more engagement in the chat window. So thank you all. Thank you all for coming. So, you know, I guess California needs a conservative governor. California needs a Republican governor, not just a Republican, a strong Republican. Okay. Is that going to happen at some point in the future? Maybe. I don't know. I know that here in Wisconsin, we do see the influx of migrants. Maybe not as much as Chicago, New York, but there are migrants. I mean, migrants, they're not gonna. They're spreading to different parts of the country. New York sees an influx. Chicago sees an influx. San Francisco, those are sanctuary communities. They see massive influx of migrants, but that doesn't mean that those are the only places that the migrants go to. Let's not forget that there are estimates that more than 9 million illegal immigrants have entered the United States since 2021. Massive numbers, okay? And so the question is, where are all the other migrants going? They are going to many communities, towns, villages, cities across the country. So no matter where you live, a small town, a village, some other peaceful city somewhere in America, you will likely see migrants. You will likely see influx of migrants. Now, the degree may vary. Some communities will see more migrants than other communities, but every community will be in some way, shape, or form impacted because of the border crisis. It's a national issue. It's not a Texas issue. It's not a California issue. It's not a New York issue. It's not an Arizona issue. It's a national issue. And that's why I keep saying that the Biden administration can secure the border, but they are not doing that. The Biden administration is not doing its job. And so leaders like Greg Abbott, and he's not a federal official, he's a state official, but he has to do what he can. He has to do what he can using his authority, using his resources, his state's resources, to try to secure the border, to keep the Texans safe. That's his duty. He wants to keep the people of Texas safe. And so every governor should do the same. But can you expect J.B. Pritzker to do it? Why can't J.B. Pritzker in Illinois, why can't he just do a press conference and say, you know what? Illinois is not a sanctuary anymore. We don't want migrants. I mean, the El Paso County Board of Commissioners in Colorado, they had the courage and the willingness to do a press conference and say El Paso County, Colorado will not be a sanctuary county. That's the kind of courage, that's the kind of determination we need in our leaders, local leaders, state leaders, federal leaders. Let me look at the chat window here for a second. So Terry writes, New York Mayor Adams had to stop the use of... Yeah, I talked about that. There was a proposal in New York City to turn an abandoned luxury apartment complex into a migrant shelter. But when the word got out and people started asking questions and people were upset, that's when Eric Adams said, no, it's not going to happen. So Eric Adams, the mayor of New York City, he came out and said that that luxury apartment complex will not that will not be a location where migrants would be housed. Okay, so I'm going to trust Eric Adams when he said that. But then I pose the question. But that's just one building. That's one location. Where else will the liberal politicians of New York try to house migrants? Where will they come up with some other building, some other location, some other abandoned luxury apartment complex, some other place, some other neighborhood community? I think the New Yorkers, they have to constantly pay attention to what's going on. They have to, every single day they have to watch out. They have to try to figure out, okay, what else is the Eric Adams administration planning? Are they going to put up a migrant shelter somewhere in this neighborhood? I think that's what people worry now. So what I'm trying to do through my YouTube channel is to raise awareness. I want people to pay attention. I am paying attention to things that are happening in Madison, in Dane County, in Wisconsin, but I'm also paying attention to what's happening in New York, Chicago, and in other places around the country. Today I talked about San Diego, that the migrant center is closing. Now, the fact that the migrant center is closing, is that going to stop migrants from? Is that going to discourage? Is that going to discourage migrants from coming into San Diego? I don't know. I don't know. What I do know is these migrant centers, these cost money. And who's funding these migrant centers? Well, the politicians allocate the money, but the money is coming from the pockets of American taxpayers. I see more people have joined. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Please keep the conversation going. Let's see. I'm looking at the comments here. So Terry, you have a brother in California. I didn't know that. Yeah, I'll talk to Terry about. I'll talk to Terry about that. I want to know what views your brother has about the politics of California. Okay, California. It's just so unfortunate. It's just such a beautiful state. California is such a beautiful state. I mean, God has given such amazing natural features to California. You've got beaches, you've got, mountains, desert, forest. It's just such a wonderful state. It's sad to see how the liberals have ruined California. Widespread crime, high taxes, everything's so expensive. Rent is high. People can't afford to live there. And that's why so many people are moving out of California. I remembered the numbers, but I can't remember them now. I forgot, but I knew the statistics for how many people are leaving California and moving to other states every year. Terry writes, he's a South Dakota born and raised conservative. That's wonderful. That is wonderful. Sally Brill has joined also. Thank you, Sally, for joining. It's wonderful to see so many people here. So there's Terry, there's Arletta, Teresa Ross, Susan, and Sally, Maya sisters. Yeah, I always encourage people after you join, after you tune into my live stream, please write a comment so I know who's here. And so thank you so much. Okay, my friends, as I was saying, at the end of the day, it seems like I'm repeating the same thing over and over again, but it's important, and that's the main issue here, that taxpayer dollars are being used to provide services to the migrants. And while Americans are facing high utility energy costs, high gas prices, inflation, I just got an oil change for my vehicle the other day. And I can tell you for a fact that it's becoming very expensive to do maintenance on your vehicles. I don't know if other people have noticed that, but whatever, you go for an oil change, it just costs more money now, and other services, brake service, whatever, transmission fluid, whatever automobile services you need, it just costs more money because labor. I mean, shortage of workers in some cases, shortage of parts, supply chain issues, inflation. I mean, everything's more expensive and people are suffering. And at the same time, the politicians, the liberals, are busy handing over our tax dollars to the migrants in the form of free housing, free food, free medical services. And that's not fair. It's a question of fairness. What's fair, what's not. And that's why during my TV interview last year, I said there cannot be two pathways to enter the United States. Because when you look at the immigration system, you have to ensure fairness. On one hand, you've got people waiting in line, completing paperwork, going through background check, waiting for years for their turn, following all immigration laws and rules, and they're coming to the United States. They have to be very patient. They have to be diligent about the paperwork. But on the other hand, you've got people who are crossing the southern border, entering the United States illegally, and we don't know where they're coming from. We don't know who they are. We don't know their background. And right after they come here, they expect free stuff. Because, that's the message that foreign nationals are getting. As migrants have been coming here since 2021, and they have been getting free stuff, word spreads all over the world. And then other foreign nationals, they think that if they can just somehow make it to the US, they're going to get free stuff. And that just draws more and more people coming through our southern border. And that's the problem that we have right now. And so we have to send a strong message. I think local leaders, state leaders have to stand up and say, not in my city. We're not going to provide funding for the migrants. State leaders should say, not in our state. We're not going to be a sanctuary for illegal immigrants. So leaders will have to send a message, because we know that the executive branch of government at the federal level, the Biden administration, they're not doing their job. So it's time for local and state officials to stand up and say, we're not going to allow our state, our city, our village, our county, our town to be a sanctuary. We're saying no to illegal immigrants. Not a single taxpayer dollar will be spent on housing, food, and other services for the migrants. Taxpayer dollars will be used to provide public services for the taxpayers, for the American citizens, not for illegal immigrants. American citizens must be the priority. Terry writes, I saw more people renting instead of buying. Well, because interest rates, young professionals, they cannot afford to buy a house. They can't, they are, this economy is preventing them from pursuing the American dream. Okay? That's what's happening. I know young professionals who can't buy house, who can't think about buying house because of mortgage rates. And then if you have saved money, if you have money saved, that money is now worth less than it was 4 years ago because of inflation. That's what inflation does. It erodes the value of money. And because of inflation, $100 4 years ago won't, whatever amount of goods you could buy with $100 4 years ago, now you're going to be able to buy less. Why? Because of inflation. Prices have gone up. Inflation, which means the value of money has gone down. So we are witnessing the erosion of the value of money. We are witnessing the erosion of the rule of law, and our immigration laws are being broken every single day. This is what's happening. So what do we do? November 2024 is coming. It's going to be here soon. It seems like it's months away, but trust me, time flies. November 2024 will come. And then that's an opportunity for people to vote for a new leader. And who do you vote for? You decide. But I've said previously, I think that the person who can fix this problem, who can address this crisis, the person who can secure the southern border and stop the influx of illegal immigrants, that's Donald Trump. And so, my friends, share with me your thoughts. I don't have much more to add. We are past the 35-minute mark. I could go on, but unless there are things people want to discuss, I can end it here. Let's see. Um, yeah, people are talking about commercial real estate. Uh, yeah, no matter how wealthy a community or a state or a country may be, money is still limited. It's finite. Resources are limited. And so the way that the liberal politicians are spending tax dollars on the migrants, it's scary. And how can people afford to do that? How long can this go on? That's the question. How long can this go on? My friends, thank you for tuning in. I appreciate it. Sunday night. Thank you for joining. I hope to be back again with more live stream. And if you have not watched my podcast, the video version of my podcast episode from earlier today, it's a 30-minute video. Please watch it. It's important. There's important information in that video. Watch it, share it with your friends, and please don't forget to give my videos a thumbs up. Help me get more subscribers. Help me spread my message. Help me create a larger community of freedom-loving Americans. Thank you so much. Once again, I appreciate you joining, and I'll be back again with more content, more videos, and more live stream. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful night. Thank you.